When a pickup has been designed to be as rugged and dynamic as your new Chevrolet Colorado, it stands to reason that it'll wind up going places where normal vehicles wouldn't dare tread.
And speaking of tread, from time to time, on job sites, in lumber yards, or in a myriad of other places that your Colorado is likely to take you, you're apt to have the misfortune of picking up a stray nail or a broken piece of glass or a shard of scrap steel. And then suddenly, before you know it, you find yourself with a flat tire.
If this happens to you, first avoid further tire and wheel damage by slowly driving to a level place and then turn on your hazard warning flashers.
Next, many of the tools that you'll need are under the passenger front seat, including a roll-out step-by-step instruction sheet describing how to change a flat. For crew cab models, the jack and wheel blocks are under the driver's side rear seat. For regular and extended cab vehicles, the jack and wheel blocks are located under the cover at the center of the vehicle behind the front seats.
The vehicle's jack will have a cover if it's an extended or regular cab. To get to it, move the seats forward and turn the wing nut on the cover counterclockwise to remove it. For crew cab models, reach under the rear seat to access the jack and wheel blocks. And be sure to note here that you'll have to undo a wing nut tipped bolt that will be holding the unit securely in place before it can be taken out from under the seat.
To reinstall the jack and wheel block assembly in the mounting bracket, insert the tabs into the jack base by pushing the blocks up into the assembly. The outer hole in the jack base aligns with the tab on the bracket. When reinstalling, make sure the jack is secure, but do not over-tighten the jack in the bracket.
Next, bear in mind that you'll have to use the jack handle extensions and the wheel wrench to remove the underbody-mounted spare tire.
The wheel blocks and the wheel block retainer can be removed by turning the wing nut counterclockwise. Put the wheel blocks at the front and rear of the tire farthest away from the one being changed. That would be the tire on the other side at the opposite end of the vehicle.
You will next use the jack handle extensions and wheel wrench to remove the underbody-mounted spare tire.
So next, assemble the wheel wrench and the jack handle's extensions.
Then, insert the hoist's chiseled end of the extension tool through the hole in the rear bumper and into the funnel-shaped guide. When you do this, you'll angle the extension tool through the hole and to the right on a roughly 45-degree angle to line up inside the guide. The chiseled end of the extension is used to lower the spare tire.
Next, turn the wheel wrench counterclockwise to lower the spare tire to the ground. Then, even after the tires made contact with the ground, continue to turn the wheel wrench until the spare tire can be pulled out from under the vehicle. If the spare tire doesn't lower to the ground, the secondary latch is engaged, causing the tire not to lower. If this happens, simply consult with Section 5 of your owner's manual in the portion titled The Secondary Latch System to find the step-by-step process needed to unlatch the tire.
When the tire's been lowered, tilt the retainer and slide it up the cable so it can be pulled up and out through the wheel opening. Then place the spare tire near the flat tire.
You may notice that your spare tire may be smaller in diameter than your original.
If your spare tire is smaller, there are a couple of reasons for this, not the least of which are a direct result of weight and storage space considerations for those times when it's not used.
You'll also notice something quite interesting if your spare tire is smaller. And that's that when it comes time to actually jack up the truck and switch the tires, that for safety reasons, the jack has been designed to just slightly lift the pickup above the height that the original tire would have rested on. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Once the spare is down, you'll need to gather up the rest of the equipment that you'll be using, and this includes the bottle jack, the wheel blocks, the extension tool, the jack handle extensions, and the wheel wrench. And again, you'll find all of these stored underneath the front passenger seat and in a compartment designed specifically to support the jack.
Our next step is to remove the center cap from the flat tire to allow you access to the lug nuts by placing the chisel end of the wheel wrench in the slot on the wheel and gently prying the cap out.
Now use the wheel wrench to loosen all the wheel nuts. To do this, turn the wheel wrench counterclockwise to loosen the wheel nuts, but for the moment, don't remove the wheel nuts just yet.
Next, and depending on the location of your flat, you'll have to place the jack in one of the locations recommended either in the diagrams shown in Section 5 of your owner's manual or as shown on the rollout diagram that is a part of your flat removal toolkit.
In essence, what you'll be trying to do is, if the flat tire is on the front of the vehicle, position the jack to the rear of the front tire in the pocket located on the undercarriage frame. It's a circular indentation that's very easy to locate.
If the flat tire is on the rear, you need to position the jack under the rear axle as close as possible to the shock absorber. There is no indentation for the jack here, but you'll notice that the top of the jack has a four-pronged head that allows the axle to be partially cradled.
And here we have to mention some very obvious facts. First, to help ensure a successful tire change, make sure that you pulled over to as flat and as hard a spot as possible. Second, getting under a vehicle when it's jacked up is dangerous. If the vehicle slips off the jack, you stand the chance of being badly injured or killed. So never get under a vehicle when only a jack supports it.
So now, back to the jack. Again, make sure the jack head is positioned so that the rear axle is resting securely between the grooves on the jack head. Then turn the wheel wrench clockwise to raise the vehicle.
And here you want to raise the vehicle far enough off the ground so there's enough room for the spare tire to fit under the wheel well. And that's a pretty easy spot to determine, as the jack itself can only be raised to a limited height. But even this maximum height is not required if all of the air has been removed from the flat and the tire can be easily removed.
Once the jack's height has been determined and set, remove all the wheel nuts and take off the flat tire. Then, to make the change even easier, remove any rust or dirt from the wheel bolts, the mounting surfaces, and the spare wheel.
Next, replace the flat with your spare, and after mounting the spare, put the wheel nuts back on with the rounded end of the nuts facing towards the wheel. Now tighten each wheel nut by hand, then use the wheel wrench to tighten the nuts until the wheel is held against the hub.
Next, turn the wheel wrench counterclockwise to lower the jack height and the vehicle completely.
From here, you need to tighten the wheel nuts firmly in a crisscross sequence by turning the wheel wrench clockwise.
And that's it for making the change. From here, you need to gather up, repackage, and restore all the tools that you used to make the switch. And then, of course, if needed, you may have to restore the original tire in the cradle located underneath your pickup.
And the steps to do this are really very straightforward if you simply reverse the process that you took when you lowered the spare. But if need be, simply consult with your owner's manual for a more detailed explanation of the steps involved.
Now here's the very most important thing to remember. If your spare tire, whether it's a compact or a full-sized version, is used, the original damaged tire needs to be repaired or replaced with a manufacturer-approved replacement as soon as possible. Until the original is repaired or replaced with a brand new, specifically designed and manufacturer-approved tire, it's crucial that you drive at a reduced speed without towing any additional weight and with an empty cargo area if practical.
The reason for this is that given the drivetrain and axle design on your Colorado, this smaller-sized tire will create undesirable stress and uneven torque.
Once again, your vehicle's spare tire is meant only as a temporary bridge to get you to a repair facility. And the reasons for this are twofold. First, the characteristics of your spare ensures maximum safety when jacking up the vehicle is required by necessitating that only a limited height raise is needed to allow for the change. And secondly, from a weight to fuel consumption perspective, the attributes of your spare consumes less gas and space than an exact original spare tire would when it's not in use.
We've covered many details regarding how to change a flat, but there's a great deal more you can discover by referring to Section 5 of your owner's manual. And as flats seem to have a tendency to occur at the least opportune moments and in the most inclement weather situations, it's a good idea to take a few minutes to get some actual hands-on experience before you find yourself in circumstances that might not be as favorable.